I foolishly opened my marriage, convinced it would make my life more exciting. Instead, I destroyed the best thing I ever had. Now all I want is my husband back, but I may have realized his value far too late. Hello, Reddit I+ here. I don't know if I'm here for advice, judgment, or someone to tell me I'm not completely losing my mind. I'm 27 years old. My boyfriend, Caleb, is 28. We've been together since I was 19 and he was 20. For almost 8 years, he has been the most stable, loyal, and loving person I've ever known. We met during our second year of college. At first, we were just friends. The kind of friends who stayed up until 3 in the morning, talking about everything and nothing. Over time, that friendship became something deeper. By the time we graduated, everyone around us assumed we'd eventually get married. Honestly, I assumed it too. After college, we moved into a small apartment together. We built a life. Not a flashy life, not an Instagram perfect life, a real one. We split bills. We adopted a dog. We argued over whose turn it was to do laundry. We spent weekends watching movies and ordering takeout. We knew each other's coffee orders, childhood stories, fears, and dreams. He wasn't just my boyfriend, he was my person. The only thing that ever bothered me was that he wasn't in a rush to get married. It wasn't because he didn't love me. He made that clear constantly. His reasoning was simple. I want us to be financially secure first. That was it. No secret issues, no commitment problems, no doubts about us. He just wanted stability before marriage and children. I respected that, or at least I thought I did. Then 6 months ago, everything started falling apart. A new employee joined our company. His name was Damon, 32 years old, former semi-professional athlete, tall, charismatic. The kind of guy who walked into a room and immediately became the center of attention. I was assigned to train him. At first, our conversations were strictly professional, then they became personal. One afternoon during lunch, he started talking about his marriage. According to him, he and his wife had an evolved relationship. His words, not mine. They had been married for years. They had children together. They both dated other people. They both slept with other people. And apparently, it worked perfectly, at least according to him. I remember sitting there thinking the whole thing sounded insane. I even told him that. I said I'd never be comfortable sharing my partner. I said I believed relationships should be between two people. He laughed. Not in a rude way, more like someone who thought I was naive. Then he said something that should have set off alarm bells immediately. You only think that because you've never had the opportunity. I rolled my eyes and changed the subject. I should have left it there. Instead, I kept talking to him. Every day, every lunch break, every coffee run, every meeting. Little by little, the conversations became more personal. Then came the compliments, then came the flirting. Subtle at first. A joke here, a lingering look there. Nothing that would qualify as cheating if someone wanted to be generous, but definitely not something I'd be comfortable telling Caleb about. That should have been my warning sign. Because the moment you start hiding interactions from your partner, you already know you're doing something wrong. I knew it. I just didn't want to admit it. The worst part? I started comparing them. I hate admitting that, but it's true. Damon was exciting. Caleb was familiar. Damon was unpredictable. Caleb was safe. Damon represented fantasy. Caleb represented reality. And instead of appreciating the incredible relationship I already had, I started wondering whether I was missing out on something. That's when Damon brought up open relationships again. This time he wasn't speaking generally. He was speaking about us. Not directly, but close enough. He asked if I'd ever considered exploring outside my relationship. I laughed nervously. He smiled. Then he said, "People are capable of loving more than one person." I wish I could say I shut the conversation down. I didn't. I listened. And listening turned into curiosity. Curiosity turned into temptation. Temptation turned into planning. I started convincing myself that maybe I was being narrow-minded. Maybe monogamy wasn't the only way. Maybe Caleb would surprise me. Maybe he'd be open to discussing it. Maybe we'd grow stronger. Maybe we'd discover something exciting. The truth? Those weren't my real motivations. I wasn't interested in some philosophical discussion about modern relationships. I wanted permission. Permission to pursue Damon without losing Caleb. That's the ugly truth. I wanted both. The security of my boyfriend and the excitement of someone new. And because I didn't want to admit that to myself, I dressed it up as personal growth. A few weeks later, I finally brought it up. We were eating dinner. Nothing special, just a random Tuesday night. I casually asked what he thought about open relationships. The second the words left my mouth, I saw his expression change. Not angry, not shocked, just disappointed. He put down his fork, looked directly at me, and asked one question. Who is he? My stomach dropped. I immediately denied everything. I told him nobody existed. I claimed it was just a random topic, a hypothetical discussion. He stared at me for what felt like forever. Then he quietly said, "You've never asked anything remotely close to that in 8 years." I didn't know what to say, because he was right. Eventually, I admitted there was a coworker. I promised nothing had happened. I insisted we were only talking. I admitted I'd developed a crush. The conversation got very quiet after that. Caleb listened. Didn't interrupt, didn't yell, didn't insult me. When I finished talking, he nodded slowly. Then he said something that shattered me. "I trusted you completely. Not I love you, not how could you, not we're done. Just that. I trusted you completely. I don't think I've ever felt smaller." For the next few weeks, things became distant between us. No screaming, no dramatic fights, just distance. The kind that's somehow worse. He stopped talking about our future, stopped discussing houses, stopped mentioning marriage, stopped making plans. Then one night he told me he needed time to think, and for the first time in our entire relationship, I realized I might actually lose him. Not because I slept with someone else. I never did. Not because I physically cheated. I didn't. But because I emotionally stepped outside the relationship and started shopping for alternatives, while expecting him to remain my safety net. That's the part I can't stop thinking about. I took the person who loved me most in the world and made him feel like he wasn't enough. All because I got caught up in attention and fantasy. Now I barely sleep. I barely eat. Every time I look at him, I remember what I risked. The life we built. The future we planned. The family we talked about. All of it. For what? Flirting with a coworker who probably won't even matter in my life a year from now? The cruel irony is that the closer I got to losing Caleb, the more I realized how deeply I loved him. Not the comfortable version of love, the real version. The version that chooses someone every day. The version that survives boredom, routine, and ordinary life. So now I'm here asking for advice. Has anyone ever damaged their relationship like this and managed to rebuild trust? If you're the partner who was hurt, what would you need to see before you could trust someone again? And if you've been in Caleb's position, would you consider this emotional cheating? Because the more honest I become with myself, the harder it is to argue that it wasn't. I think I spent months chasing excitement. Now I'd give anything just to get back the peace and certainty I already had. And I don't know whether I've realized that lesson too late